Hi, my name is Shawn. These are my friends Jaimee up there and Chris Ford down there. Almost called Jaimee Chris. Usually Chris is up here, and I resist change. And this is Avatar The Last Podcasters, and we're very excited to have a special guest on today. As you've probably seen, that's Jaimee, and also to talk about the search. First of all, how is everyone doing? Let's start with Jaimee. Let's start with the guest.
Hello, and yes, thank you once again for having me back on a very special themed episode. And I'm doing very well. I do want to make it known to the podcasters that I got two cats, and in the spirit of the way that I am, as we all know on this podcast, I named the boy Zuko. And then we ended up getting the sister as well, so I obviously named her Azula. And that is my update.
This is how it happened. Jaimee was like, yo, if you guys let me be on your podcast one more time, I'll name my cats after Avatar characters. And would be like, both of those things sound like they would be independently amazing. And then she did it. No, that's not how it happened.
I mean, I have to solidify myself as a true Avatar fan. Otherwise, like, how am I allowed to be on the podcast?
I don't know. And I don't know what I've done yet. So I probably don't belong here. But I have a feeling Chris belongs here. I can see the stuff on your shelf.
I should have tried to one up you. I should have tried to one up you and name my daughter Korra, but
I was gonna say
it was too late. My daughter was born in 2012, and Korra came out 2011. So my love for Korra was there, but it wasn't like, oh, I should name my daughter after her type of deal.
But you have had two sons since
then.
If
you had another girl, would you do it though? Like now?
Funny enough, my wife, I think she was just trying to like show a vague interest in Avatar, probably because I told her I've made like $1,000 at least in YouTube money. So she was like, "We had a daughter. Like, what Airbender name? What Airbender name would you give her?" And I knew she meant to say Avatar as in the whole series.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, well, Airbender. And so I tried to use it. I was like, Airbender names. Well, there's not that many of them because they all died. There was a huge genocide.
Tell your pregnant wife that.
Probably
that's
Jinora.
Yang and oh yeah. Well,
but we're not having any more kids. We're good at 3.
Oh.
Jinora's a cute name though. And you know what? Korra is a cute name. I like them both. Really go either way. Really? So I didn't put a news slide on here, but I figure we should like tackle the elephant in the room. I hope everybody went and checked out Chris and me complaining for 40 minutes about the horrible news we got yesterday. But I thought if it was okay with Chris, I would ask Jaimee what her opinions were on the horrible Netflix shattering news.
Yeah, this that really hurt. I don't know. I'm like kind of like not really surprised because I'm all right, 2 parts. On the one hand, I'm not surprised because this was going to be such a struggle. Like this live action was going to be such a struggle. I was going to really be on the edge of my seat, like waiting to see how they could even like remotely pull it off. I don't know. Like I was really concerned from the get-go, but I wanted to keep faith because the creators were involved. But now I am surprised that Netflix, according to Bryan Konietzko's letter, were not following through on their promises and they left because of creative integrity, which really surprises me given how badly the live action movie failed and how many fans were just so outraged by it. In addition to other properties that Netflix has tried to adapt and also failed to follow through on creative integrity. So I don't understand why that would have happened. Like, I don't understand how they didn't know what they were getting into when they started out. And that it just surprises me that after all of that, all of the fans, all of the gripe that the live action gets, how beloved the series is, how they would still let this happen. I don't know.
Jaimee works for a serious news outlet. I don't want to share too much, right? But she works for a serious news outlet, so her opinions are their own credible source. Just throwing that out there.
Yeah. Yeah.
We did.
I don't know.
I was hoping you were going to come in with a scoop.
No. I don't know. I do not work for Netflix, and I do not know anything about what happened on the production level. This is just like, my personal, like, I don't really know how that would have happened, but, working in TV, I can say that, like, things have to go through a ton of different hands, and there's a lot of different, chefs in the kitchen, and I can see how things could get away easily. I don't understand in, like, the broader scope of the project how someone wasn't able to, like, wrangle it back in and be like, no, like, we need to stick to what we know is going to work. I don't know, but it's a complicated process. And ultimately, I'm just really sad. I'm sad because I don't think it's going to be good without the creators, because it's not an easy show to adapt. Not at all.
Since you don't have an official, first of all, I don't keep up with this kind of thing very well. You could have come in and told me that your company owns Netflix, and I'd have just been like, okay. But
no, my company does not own Netflix.
I wouldn't have known any better. But I do want to call out that Chris and I, since you can't refute it and you don't have any additional scoops, I think Chris and my theories that Netflix is pushing Zutara is what chased Bryan and Michael away. I think that's the only logical answer.
We were blaming Zutara fans.
Yeah, I can see like why you two would come at the Zutara fans for that.
We just want you to know that it's your fault that it didn't work out. That's all.
It's my fault that the Netflix adaptation has preemptively failed. That before it even gets on air, it's my fault. Yeah, well, I will say that if you remember back in like maybe it was even the first episode that I did with you guys, we were talking about how maybe they might try to push Zutara a little bit more in the live action, given how much support it has gotten over the years.
I remember it like it was last year.
Yeah, but maybe they pushed a little too far. I don't know. I'm not really sure. I wasn't there.
Well, it was totally a joke. We're not going to actually blame Zutara fans. It's just impossible to not make that joke. But I do want to say that Chris pointed out the poll that Netflix put for Zutara was like 39% Zutara.
And that's saying 39.8% Katang.
Yeah, wait. I didn't even see the official numbers of what it ended up with.
I was very surprised.
Yeah, Katang pulled it out.
Barely. By what, 0.04 or something?
Yeah, it was
really close. Okay, well.
So when Canon is barely beating, fan Canon like that, I don't know, something to be said for that. So way to hold your ground, Zutara people. Way to hold your ground.
We showed up. Okay, that's the thing. We're gonna keep showing up. That's what matters.
Not like those Jet people when we did that poll.
Oh.
I just assumed everybody liked Jet, but turns out everybody knows that he's done.
You're wrong.
Yeah, which is fine because I'm also I still win in this case by being wrong. Like Jet is a douchebag. But Chris, at some point in there, I totally interrupted you asking something else. I apologize.
I had no idea what I was going to say. I don't think I was asking anything, but yeah, we shared a lot of our thoughts about it. Long story short, I think Netflix wanted to age up the characters, sexualize it a little bit more, maybe do more shipping, probably more romantic love triangles, things like that, because those things aren't. Bryan specifically said it wasn't the in the spirit of the show, and to me those things conflict with the spirit of the show, and I don't see how they would change the story, because the story works. Avatar was number one on Netflix for a very long time, and to me that seems like an executive thing to do. Is be like, executives I think love to control the cast a lot. A lot of times casting is just like an executive owes someone else a favor, or they think they ran some type of analysis saying that adults won't watch kids do stuff or something like that. So I could see casting being a huge factor in that, and probably just a lot of little things that broke the camel's back, a lot of little straws.
And nobody knows broken numerical analysis like Chris and I. We dabbled in it for years. In my mind, somebody like some Netflix guy like Bryan and Michael and this creative group are like at this big table talking about it, and some like Netflix VP like walks in the room. He just got done watching Game of Thrones. And he walks in the room, slaps a poster on the wall. He's like, "You guys know what this needs? Sex." And everybody's just like, "Are you in the right room?" And then
Yeah.
it all broke down from there. That's in my mind. That's what happened.
That's what happened.
Yeah.
I don't know that I agree that it was all because they wanted to lean more into shipping. I don't know.
Shipping was a small part. Shipping was a small part.
Yeah,
To me, the biggest part was the casting.
Yeah, I definitely do agree with that. I think they were definitely going to age up the characters because I think that it would have been a struggle to watch like, well, I don't know. I mean, Aang is 12, but like Sokka and Zuko are both like 16. So I think that would have been the age that they're trying to hit around. Like probably like they're aiming for probably 16-year-olds ish in there somewhere.
A true 12-year-old Aang would be hard to peg
I think it would be
for sure.
hard to watch. But that being said, Netflix did an awesome job with Stranger Things. Like that show was so well done because those child actors were just like incredible. So like Netflix, this is not new territory for them. They could work with child actors. So I'm not sure like why maybe that specifically would have been it. I don't know why like shipping would have been more of their pull because see, I'm so torn because like I really like Stranger Things, especially the early seasons, but I don't really like Netflix's like YA stuff. Like, I don't really like their teen genre. So if they were trying to move Avatar like more into their teen genre and away from like a Stranger Things type situation, there might have been a lot of issues, but I don't know. I mean, it's such a strong story, and animation was totally the way to go with it the first time around. Like, you know, some media fits certain stories and vice versa. Like, and I think that trying to adapt this was already going to be a struggle. So yeah, it's just I'm sad. Well, I'm curious to see what actually happens though with it. Like, I don't know. We'll see what happens. We'll see what comes out of that.
I'm gonna watch it.
Yeah, I'm gonna watch it anyway.
We're gonna watch it. We're gonna watch it. But...
And then when it happens, it will probably be much more obvious to us where the breakdown occurred. I have a feeling.
Oh my gosh, I think
it would have to be obvious.
Yeah, I can see the YouTube videos now.
We're gonna turn it on, and it's just gonna be the widest group of actors, and they're all gonna be in their 30s, and we're just gonna know right away. We nailed it. No.
I just do not whitewash them, please.
I don't actually think the whitewashing will be the issue at all. It just sounded funnier in my head than it did when I said it out loud.
No, I think, but I'm just saying. I really hope I hope beyond hope that they do not whitewash these characters. We shall see.
Thank you for indulging my conversation. Like I said, I didn't really include a news slide, but we couldn't not say something. But if nobody else has any lingering comments to get off their chests, we will jump into the topic at hand, which is the search. I said last comments, and I didn't actually give you guys a chance to say any comments, so I guess it's over. Let's talk about the search. This is the second volume in the Avatar: The Last Airbender comic book series. I forgot to look when it came out. We did an episode previously on The Promise, and this one is very, let's call it like Jaimee appropriate. Like she wanted to be here for this one specifically, and she said so some time ago.
Spicy. It's a spicy story.
Kind of wild.
I love it. It's twists and turns, and
it is not at all what I expected. And I will say that Chris has never revealed too much. Like I think he always anticipated that I would have to catch up in him at some point, and he never revealed much. And it was way wilder than anything I expected. But as usual, I think let's just start by like with the standard walkthrough. For you guys' reference, I only put 3 slides on here. I just split it into the 3 parts, which don't even have titles. I just created bad titles. So let's talk part 1.
Part 1. To me, part 1 is very like introductory. So you get a quick flashback of Ursa, and you do know she's Ursa, right? Yeah, I believe she says her Ursa. And her boyfriend, Akeem, I feel like that's not the right way to say it. I don't know. Akeem, and like, they're really happy, living a happy life. And that, to me, that's a great way to just introduce this happy people. You know, like, tragedy is going to happen. But he also proposes to her, and she says yes. Like, they're a really cute couple. Like, they're a very, very cute couple.
It's real cute. Yeah, I think this first section is really fun because it just kind of catches you like totally off guard. Like that's not how we expected to see her. If we even saw her, I mean, like, I don't know. I think like one thing, like the search, it's supposed to be all about Zuko trying to find his mother. And it's interesting that it just opens with her right away. In a previous life, a past life before the Fire Nation attacked.
Which I think is a great way that it doesn't focus, that it puts a big lens, a big focus on Ursa, because oftentimes female characters are a derivative of male characters. Like they're only there to really support them. And I think Ursa gets a lot. This book is really about Ursa. I mean, she has the flashbacks in it, and also it's about Azula. Those are really the two most important people. Zuko is almost. He's just kind of the catalyst. He's kind of
like a vehicle almost.
Yeah.
Like a literal vehicle. He's the one that actually moves the story from place to place. Good job, Zuko.
Yeah. And then we pick up with Team Avatar, and I forgot what city they're in. They're not in Republic City because that doesn't come up yet. They're in Lowdown. Anyway, some city. Yodao. That's what it's called. Very much, they're just talking to this foreign guy, and Zuko's like, I'm lost. Zuko's been lost before. Which, Jaimee, how do you feel about Zuko still not having his stuff together?
Yeah, this one, this is going to be an interesting episode in which I'm like very like two sides of the same coin on a lot of the stuff that happens in here, because on one hand, it's a little bit exhausting to come to but I don't know, because like after the promise, I mean, Zuko was still fighting with Team Avatar, which is like still exhausting for me. I was like, why? Like, I just want Zuko to get his time being nice. And so we come to this one. I'm like, oh, it would be so nice if he could just be chill now. But also on the other hand, it just doesn't really work like that. He's still virtually a child trying to be the Fire Lord, and he did not have the easiest time coming into that position. So I can recognize that. And also I think it is kind of very sweet that he still has this part of himself that he cannot move on from. Like his mother, he doesn't know what happened to her. So I think that like he can never really become this fully realized person until he finds this like missing part of himself. So I guess I understand it, but yeah, it takes a while.
Yeah. Then in the flashback, we learn Ursa, after she's like proposed to, she goes home to her mom, and her mom's all sad because the Fire Lord is there to greet them, and he's with his son Prince Ozai, and he pretty much forces them to marry their daughter off to their son because she is the descendant of Avatar Roku. And sages say that children between these two lineages should produce really great like firebenders and great power. They'll help ensure the family's rule for centuries after he's gone.
Which is stupid logic because Avatar is not genetic. That's dumb. Get your act together.
I mean, there's half genetics.
Avatar?
I mean, well,
like because Roku you have an ancestor that's the Avatar does not in any way going to contribute to you having better bending genetically. I don't believe that for a second. Because that would mean the Avatar is like segregated to better bending families, sort of, like, or would imply that.
Well, I think Roku was probably a really great firebender, and then like sure he might have not been good at other ones, but you can be like really great at your natural element and then pass kind of that down, like Toph.
Right, but that's separate from the Avatar. That's separate from being the Avatar. Like they.
Yeah, I just think him as Roku, because they knew Roku was a powerful firebender. Just him as Roku was a.
I totally read it in an Avatar way. Like, listen, this kid, spawned on the Avatar.
Right. You could be right, yeah. Because it say the Fire Sages tell me that the pairing of the Avatar's granddaughter with my own son will yield a bloodline of great power. So, It could go either way.
Yeah, I just got mad when I was like, "That's stupid."
Yeah.
But
that's a good point, though, Shawn. That's a quite semantic argument, but I think it has a lot of merit because I did not think about that at all, and that's a really good catch.
they're just doing it's just a it's like a clickbait article, man. That's all they're going for. Just going for views.
Yeah.
Well,
We get into the crux of the story because Zuko's like, I gotta my own family. I'm holding them hostage, not hostage, holding them in prisons. And he wants to connect with them more, so he lets like Azula talk to Ozai, and he goes and brings them both tea. And Azula's still like crazy. She's
yeah.
she's still a little off her rocker. And I really do love the art in this book. To me, they raise the level up from the promise, especially with Azula's expressions, because there's certain expressions in here where Azula is just like it's this one is here, not that one there. Like, they do such a good job of just drawing her in so many different expressions. Like that one just says a lot.
I think they did a good job of. To me, it felt a little more differentiated from the artwork of the show, but kind of in a good way. Like it felt distinct.
Yeah. But yeah, so then
and all of the artwork in these comics, which is really, really fun.
Yeah, so Azula's still going crazy. Man, they flash back a lot in this book. They flash back to it, and pretty much Ursa has to break up with Akeem, and because pretty much she's gonna. I think at one point, Ozai. What does Ozai say? I think he pretty much threatens that he's gonna kill Akeem, because he comes out and tries to like fight
Yeah.
Ozai to win Ursa's heart.
Yeah, she kind of has to lie to his face. It's really heartbreaking. She has to shatter his heart for his own safety. He says, because he's like, if you really truly love Ozai, I will let you go. Like, your happiness is more important than mine.
Yeah.
And she will lie and tell him that she's happy going with Ozai because that's the only way to keep him safe. And it's very, very heartbreaking. Hopefully he came to that realization later in life that he was, she was protecting him, but very, very hard for sure.
Yeah. So then they go back. At one point when Azula was in a prison, she like leaps out and tries to attack Zuko with just like a plate, and then entirely chi blocks her. And then it comes to this point where Zuko is like walking her out in a wheelchair, and because she's so crazy, she's like, she talks to Zuko. She's like, "Have you ever been chi blocked, Zuzu?" And he says, "No. Funny thing, all your joints go soft like they're made of melted wax. Then for just a few moments, as your strength returns, you find yourself more flexible than you ever thought possible." She then was able to break out of this straitjacket. Like, it's so Azula. Like, use something that someone did against you and somehow find a way to make it your benefit, to make it your advantage. And then she lightning bends at him.
It made me super mad that she had to monologue while she did it, though. Like, you know what, Azula, you'd be a lot better off in life if you stopped doing that.
No, you have to do the monologue, Shawn.
I don't need the bad guy monologues, except in comedy movies.
But then you're stuck wondering, how did she get out of the straitjacket?
Which is a great mystery.
It's that's so classic of her, though. I just finished, like, literally right before we came on here. I just finished watching Day of Black Sun, and there's like a part where Toph has her in like a constraint, like a wrist constraint against the wall, and it's Day of Black Sun's the eclipse, so she doesn't have firebending. But right as the eclipse comes back, and she realizes the firebending is coming back, like her hands are up against the wall, but she like kicks and firebends like with her legs, and it's more than enough power to like break her out. And so she's an escape artist. That is for sure. She has no problems getting out of out of those situations.
Oh yeah. So she escapes Zuko's grasp because her and her father, even though they didn't say a single word to each other, apparently in prison, like they just stared at each other, which is weird. So it's weird father-daughter bonding time.
It's messed up.
Not in a creepy way. I'm saying just weird, just staring at each other, but then communicate to each other. I bet they were doing like Morse code with their eye blinking, probably.
Yeah.
That's the only way he can communicate to her. Like, hey, go check in my room, in my chest. There's a letter that can make Zuko not the heir to the throne.
Yeah, I just didn't like how they were supposedly like in jail together because I'm like, those two could be up to some serious shenanigans. Like he doesn't have his bending, but that doesn't mean he can't. I don't like it. I don't like it. I don't like it.
I agree.
I don't like
Isolation for those clowns.
Yeah, no. Do not leave them. They could come up with something wild. I don't know why you would even. And Azula still has her bending, and she's still powerful. I don't know why they would have let that happen.
Yeah, you know what? On that note, let's go ahead and energy bend Azula also, like, just to be safe.
Yeah, she's crazy.
Like, she's not going to do anything good with her powers at this point. I mean, maybe she does in other comics, but I don't care yet. Just whatever.
I kind of get why, like, maybe they wouldn't, because Azula, we often forget, is supposed to be, like, 14, which obviously, like, she doesn't come across that old, and you wouldn't want to. Yeah, I mean, she looks more like she's like 18, honestly.
But if Aang is younger than her and he energy bends her and he's younger, maybe it doesn't look so bad. Like, you got energy bended by a kid, whatever. Not our problem.
That is true.
Some ageism at its finest coming out of Shawn's mouth. I'm sorry.
I mean, if I had to guess, the reason why they didn't, because it seemed like a risk in the first place, and it just seemed like if she's locked up and everything, it's an unnecessary risk.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, it seems kind of cruel to like take away someone bending.
Yeah, and the
ultimate reason, which I guess it is, but
in the Imbalance book, Aang deliberates between taking away this another villain's bending away, and Katara's like, sure, you didn't kill Ozai, but like if someone took my bending away from me, it will feel like they took an extension of myself away from me. Yeah. Like it wouldn't, like I would hate it. And Aang kind of thought about that in a different way.
That I don't think I actually know I've not read Imbalance, and that it gets into some really interesting stuff about like the merits of, and I don't really know how this ties to Korra, but the merits of like non-benders in those societies, because if you feel like part of your personhood is gone because you now don't have bending, if you feel like you literally can't be yourself because of this thing that happened to you, that is really interesting. There are some interesting conversations there, and I think Korra tries to get at that on multiple different occasions. And we can discuss this later, but I don't think they succeed. But anyway, as well as they could have.
I just picture Katara telling that to Aang, like, man, you just as well have killed him. And Aang's like, you're right, I killed him. And then Aang never sleeps again, and then he dies young. Well, not
in a way we still don't know.
Yeah, not young, but like the biological body age young, still 160 whatever.
So Azula then gets a letter, and then they show this. They flash right back. So they do a lot of flashbacks. They flash right back to Ursa and Ozai's wedding, which it looks beautiful, honestly, but because the art again is so good in this book, but like she just has so much sadness. Yeah, she just has so much sadness on her face. It's like a beautiful dress, also. Like this, it's yeah, no one can see that. Well, maybe they can.
Yeah, we can see it. That's good.
Okay. The thing I do love about this book is Zuko's continuing efforts to try and get along with Azula. Like he's so much trying to reach her, because one thing, he's her brother, her older brother. Like he has to look after. He's a whole 2 years older than Azula. Like, imagine if your little sister, sure, she was evil and stuff, but she's still your little sister, so you got to protect her.
Yeah, I do. I really like that Zuko is trying to bond. I like that Zuko didn't completely back away or just completely like cut himself off from Azula, which I think would have been an easy thing to do. He would have had lots of reason and no one would have questioned it, but I think it's really sweet that he does try because really he has Iroh, but otherwise, she's kind of like his only connection to the past family that he once had. And obviously his mother that he's looking for now, but I think it's really sweet that he makes that effort. And yeah, again, she is at the end of the day just a kid. They're all just kids, and she has a lot of time to figure it out. So I'm glad that Zuko tries.
Yeah. Real quick, I want to read this terrible passage from Ozai being a terrible person. So at their wedding, he says, "You have lovely parents." She says, "They've always been good to me. Be sure to tell them that when you say goodbye, your last words should be filled with gratitude and kindness, so their memory of you will always be sweet." And she's like, "Last words?" As a princess of the Fire Nation, you must sever all ties to your past and devote yourself entirely to your new duties. After this day, do not mention Korra, your family, or your old life ever again. You belong to the royal family now, and to me. Like, this guy is a straight creep. Like, that is some some twisted creeper stalker you type of stuff. I don't know if I didn't watch the show You, but or no, is it You? Like, what's that show that the guy?
Yeah, no, that's You. The one where he stalks her. Yeah, that's You. Also on Netflix.
At least his dad like tried to mask it in this, greater good Fire Colony expansion right away. But Ozai, he's like an asshole right out of the gate.
I'm glad that you brought up this paragraph because when I first read the search, actually like rereading it, I didn't have as many problems with it as I did the first time around. But I'm glad you mentioned this because one thing that I admittedly do not particularly like about this story is how it really villainizes Ozai like to the max. Like we didn't actually know that much about Ozai from the original series. Like he was just the big bad. He tried to kill Zuko, and we know that he didn't end up doing that because of Ursa stepped in, and we get that backstory here. But I was a little bit like, they made him really, really bad, and I was just like, would it be more interesting if he was also kind of a product of a larger system, or is it more interesting that he is this like really true like evil to the core kind of person? And I tend to like more complex villains, so maybe at first I wasn't super into that, but now I kind of feel like, well, maybe that is how people would be, or how they would view if you were if the royal family meant that much in their expansion. I don't know. Maybe they would act like that. I don't know.
I think I'm fine with his. I don't like the person he is, but some villains are made not to be liked at all.
Mm-hmm.
And I wouldn't necessarily call it bad writing. I'm sure they could have added more nuance to him, make him a little bit more interesting than just shoving him down the path of being evil, even more evil than like anyone you've seen before. Like the previous Fire or Zulon at least was like sticking up for Iroh. Sozin at least was like he appeared to have good meaning behind spreading the wealth to other nations.
He at least tried to mask it, yeah. I'm gonna go a little toward Jaime's direction of like I wouldn't mind if it weren't like quite so on the nose, but it's okay. It didn't bother me much.
I think where it works is that you compare that to Ursa, who's really kind, and then you compare Azula as like in the middle there. Like Azula to me is a product of that. And you juxtapose Azula's character. You really juxtapose all the Fire Nation royal family with each other and how they compare. Right, Azula is evil, but why is she evil? There's a reasoning behind that. Ozai is just completely evil. Ursa is is just kind of pure good. Zuko was very lost, and now he's more of that pure good type of character. So understanding, I think the family dynamics between them was really good, and which is why I'm fine with Ozai not being any more interesting. Well, not being any more, um, not not being any more redemptive
Yeah,
That's
I
fine.
yeah.
than he was
I mean, I
before.
definitely like want to clarify. I don't care to redeem Ozai in any way or like really.
Yeah, no, I know.
I,
I didn't think you wanted to. Yeah.
yeah, but I think the other thing too is that I will say, like Shawn mentioned at the beginning of this, the first time I read this, I was like totally shocked by what this comic was, because major props to them for depicting this kind of like really toxic and abusive relationship.
It's
Um, like I mean, again, these comics are for young audiences, and so it was really like quite an interesting step to take to depict that at all, and also to to show that those kind of relationships exist and that they are toxic and that you can and should get out of them if if it's safe for you to do so, but that they complicate things a lot. So on the one hand, I'm a little annoyed that they made him so far evil, that I was like, oh, I kind of wished that it was talking more about the evil of the whole system of the Fire Nation rather than this individual. But on the flip side, I think that it's probably pretty common that you would see kind of these loveless arranged marriages in royal families. So I think that's an important depiction as well.
yeah. So in the book, the Azula gets a letter, and she pretty much tells Zuko like, "This is how we find Mom. This is how we find her." And so Zuko gets Team Avatar back minus Toph. So he has Katara, Aang, Sokka, and he brings on Azula so they can go and find their mother. There's a couple good, I think, character moments in here between them. Like they're getting ready to like leave, and Aang is like, "Good morning, Azula. Beautiful day for a trip, isn't it?" Like he's so polite to her, even though she's like pretty much killed him before, but he's still super nice to her.
Yeah. Oof. It's a full 180 there, that's for sure.
Yeah. Also, I mean, you also continue to see how crazy Azula is because like they're all flying on top of Appa, and she's like, "So tell me, kids, I've been dying to know which of you miscreants did she approach first?" And they're like, "What are you talking about?" Like Azula, she continues to think that her mother is conspiring against her so much that she recruits everybody to be against her.
Yeah. It's really sad.
Yeah. Oh man, yeah. Then she just jumps off of Appa to go off on her own and everything. And again, this art, I just really love the art in this book. I should have gave it a higher score that we haven't gotten a score yet. So, but yeah, but essentially they start getting into the actual search. They land in some city, and Azula continues to have these mental breakdowns. Like she's like at a river, and she sees her mother in the lake, and like she's talking to her. There's one passage that I really enjoyed. I forget exactly where it's at, but at one point, somewhere in this book, her own hallucination of her mother says like she doesn't know her destiny yet, and that's really interesting because that's Azula talking to herself. To me, that's good foundation for Azula. Maybe not fully, completely having a redemption arc, but at least going in a different direction.
Yeah, for sure. I think that yeah, kind of like Zuko, she was told that she had one destiny, but that's not necessarily true. That was built on a lot of corruption.
Yeah. Yeah. Then book one. pretty much they flash back again, and Ursa is like sending notes to Akeem, and a little go-between lady tells Prince Ozai of it, and then in it, she like tells him like a deep secret, and Ozai gets really mad. But the rest of book one is just kind of them finding this weird fox spirit, wolf spirit thingy, and I'm honestly not as interested in that stuff. But
yeah, but book one does end with like that huge cliffhanger.
yes, so after they like fight this wolf spirit thing, or it tracks them somewhere, something like that. I really love this moment that Sokka and Zuko having a great little moment. So there you go.
Jaimee. We love
Jaimee.
to see it. We love to see it.
No, Chris, that one's for everybody, remember?
That's
we were all thumbs up for that.
We're all Zuko shippers.
Wait, right. I was not for any bad reason. I just love their brotherly relationship.
I think you floated it, Jaimee. Can you back that up? I think you floated.
I didn't. Did I float it?
But you know what? Yes.
I think you floated. I think it had 2 ships and a float, if I'm not mistaken.
You could be right.
No takesies, backsies. It's on the internet. It's final.
Yeah. Whatever you said back on then, you must do. You can never change your opinion now.
Well, you know what? After this, I'm going to go listen to it. Okay.
Actually, it is a fun one to listen to.
Yeah. That was one of our more controversial episodes.
It was fun.
Jaimee came on, things got spicy. Hey, if you haven't listened to that one, I'll put it high in the links in this one. You got to go check it out.
Yeah, that one was a fun one.
Yeah, it was a blast.
Okay, so there's a really great Sokka Zuko moment. Like they're talking about their sisters. Azula is like shivering, right? You can see her shivering in her sleep. Lakatara is like cozied up by Appa. Like she even has hallucinations in her dreams. And then the point that I like, Sokka goes to put a blanket over Katara, and one thing they've been fighting a lot. And then Zuko says like, after all those snowballs to your forehead, you still look out after her. And then Sokka says, I throw witchism at her. She throws snowballs at me. The relationship works. And then Zuko says, seems to me like you're getting the short end of the deal. And Sokka says, Katara's my sister. When it comes to her, I don't mind getting the short end of the deal. And then Zuko kind of tries to mirror Sokka, what he does. So he goes to put a blanket over Azula, and that's when he finds the note. And the note says, yeah, that is sweet. Like great Zuko trying to be a big brother moment. Like I can't tell you how many times in my own house that like we like growing up we would like fall asleep on the couch or on the floor, and one of us would put like a blanket on the other one.
Cute.
So Zuko finds the letter and it says, "My dearest Akeem, it's taken me a long time to admit it, but you were right. I belong with you, and nothing is worth this pain. My one consolation is our son, Zuko. When I look into his eyes, it is as if I'm looking into yours. My thoughts are with you always. Love, Ursa." And that's how book one ends.
Jerry.
Oof, that's some drama there.
Okay, so like did you all read this book in one sitting, right, the first time?
I did the YouTube thing again with like the read on. So I mean they still show the art and everything, but yeah.
Okay, so I read it as the books came out. So this was a huge cliffhanger until the next book came out. It was like, holy crap, Zuko's not, and I didn't buy it to begin with because I'm like, no, I don't want this to happen because the whole point of Zuko is that he has both sides of the Fire Nation back history and Avatar Roku's history. And also, it was just taking a lot away from his character, I thought, but it was still an interesting development.
I do remember being like, I remember reading it and being like, oh shit, like really? But then like after like the initial shock was there, which was so awesome. I love that. But I think like about 2 seconds after I read it and processed it, I was like, probably not. But it's fun. It's a fun cliffhanger, that is for sure.
Yeah.
I didn't have to wait for the answer though, so you did, unfortunately.
Yeah, I'm glad I didn't
either. So then Zuko shares it with Aang, and Zuko has like this weird clarity about it. He almost feels some levity of like, I'm not his son. That explains it all. That explains why he treated me this way. That like it's almost as if Zuko is trying to find his place in the world, and he never wanted it to be. He didn't want it to be. He would rather have it be under nobody that he didn't know, rather than be under Ozai.
Yeah, kind of going back to some of the discussions that we've had earlier about Zuko's childhood. I think that is kind of I mean, he's looking for a reason. He's never going to stop looking for a reason for why Ozai treated him the way that he did, even though, like, with children from, like, abusive households, obviously, is not the child's fault ever. And they're always wondering, like, why doesn't that parent love you more? Like, love me more? Like, I think that's, like, a very common thing. And so he's like trying to just like ration out like, oh, this is why Ozai didn't love me because I wasn't his. I mean, that's still no excuse for how Ozai treated him at all. No one should be treated that way by anybody. But so it is like a weird moment of clarity, and for him that kind of like resolves something that I didn't think he really knew how to face. But it's also like quite sad to think about it, that he was looking for the answer to like, why didn't my father love me? So yeah, it is an interesting moment for sure.
Yep. And then there's a flashback of Ozai pretty much putting a hit out on Akeem, and he's working with a Yuyan archer. But yeah,
there's a lot of threat of killing people in this book. Yeah, I'm like, oh, we are just okay. We're going full force here.
Yeah. And then Azula realizes that Zuko has the paper, and they fight, which I think this is one of the best fights in any of the comics, because one thing, it's hard to go from the show, which has such beautiful animation and such beautiful choreography, and then go to a very two-dimensional format. Sometimes it works, but this time I think it works really well. I don't know, for some reason the art just really lends itself to this fight. Like a lot of times the fighting looks small in the comics, but this time it doesn't, and for some reason it has more. There's just more movement in it. But then Azula is like, wait a minute, you've had the note all night. Why didn't you burn it? Like, this one note could delegitimize Zuko. And she even finds Zuko to be kind of off. Just like, why would you even do this? And Zuko's pretty much just like, I just want to find out the truth. He doesn't really tell her that he doesn't want to be, it's not that he doesn't want to be the Fire Lord. He doesn't want to be Ozai's son, which would not make him the Fire Lord. Although to me, that doesn't matter. Like, even if he wasn't his son, the right to rule in the Fire Nation comes down to the might to rule. Like, who has the most power?
Yeah, I mean, but we know that, I guess, like, that kind of came out in the Kyoshi novels, Shadow of Kyoshi. But I think that what's really interesting is that regardless of Zuko's feelings on this particular issue, Aang kind of really is like, I'm glad that you don't want to be Ozai's son, but like also that has really serious consequences. That would make Azula the right to the throne, like the blood heir, which is a terrifying thought. And so I thought that was like a very interesting addition, just to have that, because it does complicate matters a lot. But I love that Zuko doesn't really care. You know, he's like, if that's what it means, that's what it means. But
I don't know, Zuko. It's pretty selfish there. I want my own family. Just kidding. I liked it. I felt really bad for him, and I'm glad he brought some levity to it because it could have been awkward.
Yeah. So they kind of agree to stop fighting each other and continue the search for their mother. Go to another flashback, this is one of the worst Ozai moments also. Uh, Azula, they're like little kids. They're at the table. Azula's talking about how she hates this instructor because he's dumb, and Zuko's like, he's not dumb anyway. And then Ozai gets really mad and just like, Zuko, how dare you lecture your sister on firebending, despite being a year younger. I'm sorry, she's only a year younger, not 2 years. How many more forms has she mastered than you? And he pretty much says like the line that Zuko says at the end of book 1 of like, when you were born, we weren't sure if you were a bender at all. You didn't have that spark in your eyes. I plan to cast you from the palace. How embarrassing for a prince of the Fire Nation to have a non-bender as his firstborn. Like, this dude was going to cast out his own son just for not being a firebender. And then, his mother in the fire stages convinced Ozai not to banish him, a baby, from the royal palace.
We'll cut the baby in half. It's been a while since we had a John Mulaney joke. I'm sorry.
It has been a while.
Yeah.
Anyway, the Yuyan archer comes back and he tells Ozai that he couldn't find Akeem, and then Ozai like demotes him, makes him quit his job. And then Ozai talks with Ursa again. And then pretty much they have this conversation of like, Ozai's like, listen, you're treacherous, and your own treachery is living underneath my roof. Like, you're lucky I'll let him live. But Hakeem, however, he got what he deserved. I killed him. So like that's how that part ends, because it still keeps you in suspense that maybe Zuko really isn't Ozai's son. So then it goes back to the future or the present, and Team Avatar plus Azula, which I really like Azula on Team Avatar for some reason. In my like video of picking my own Team Avatar, if I was Avatar and I picked my own masters, Azula was one of them. That would be really interesting. Team Avatar. It was her, Suyin, Beifong, Katara, and then I changed it to Jinora, even though officially it was Macchiato, but changed it to Jinora. Anyway, they go to this play. I think it's Love Amongst the Dragons. But one thing, I love this brother-sister moment between Zuko and Azula, because they're like, so they're at the play, and Zuko's like, remember when Mother used to take us to watch the Ember Island players perform this play? Afterwards on the beach, you and I would reenact this very scene. I don't get why I always had to be the dark water spirit, though. And Azula, like, smiling, talked to him, and like it's kind of reminiscing, like, and she says, clearly I made a better dragon emperor. And so I just like that. This is like the most brother sister moment I've seen between them. It's kind of cute.
Yeah. I like that there's, they do have a past, a real past, not the adversary one that we saw in the show. I mean, they always had issues, but they were just small kid issues, not save the world issues.
Yeah. Then they come across this seemingly normal family, which I have to say, I don't think I didn't know what this family was all about. I
did not whatsoever.
Like, it just seemed like a random family. So there's a guy, a dad, I forget his name, then a mother, I forget her name, and then they have a little daughter together. And Azula doesn't like the family, but Zuko's really nice, little girl and stuff. She's like, you come back again to have dinner with the family and everything. And he says, I really hope so.
Honestly, this is like the luckiest run in, I would say.
That's a huge plot convenience. Like, how did you
like they were like, oh wow, we like literally just ran into them. I don't know.
Yeah. I do think later they explain that the dad heard them asking around for a guy named Akeem.
Oh yeah, maybe.
So that's when
I guess that makes
I
sense.
think they do. Okay.
This story actually gets like quite complicated. So I don't know that I remember all the details, but
I think I just saw
cool.
a spider and I might have to burn my house down. So sorry if we lose coverage.
I was like,
I have
so we flashed.
My spiders now.
Charlie just kind of paws at him. He doesn't ever really eat him.
Okay, so we flash back. There's one moment where they pretty much go to the show flashback where Zula like goes into Zuko's room, tells him like, haha, dad's gonna kill you. And then Ursa overhears that, and Ursa talks to Azula, and Azula's like, I accidentally heard Grandpa telling Daddy to kill Zuko. And then her and Ozai have a really, I think, interesting conversation.
Mm-hmm.
Oh gosh, Ozai. So as Ursa goes and says, Ozai, you can't do this. And he says, I have no choice. Refusing the Fire Lord's command is treason. But I am a merciful man. I am waiting until he's asleep. You won't feel a thing. Holy crap. Like, what the heck?
Yeah, it is really bad. Really bad.
So then Ursa makes the deal that she'll kill Azulon for him. She says, I'll give you a vial in exchange for Zuko's life. And then, because she learned that from being a herbalist. And then Ozai pretty much says, like, sure, but you must leave the capital city and never show your face again, because with you around, like, you could then possibly poison me. And then she says, fine, but I take my children with me. Because a lot of people wrongfully talk crap on Ursa that she like didn't love Azula or something. She wasn't like, fine, I'm gonna take Zuko with me. It's fine, I'm gonna take my children with me.
Mm-hmm.
And she loved, she loved Azula, and even Azula knows that. I mean, sure, sometimes parents maybe get a little bit more attention to other kids because maybe they might need it. And I think my dad probably gave one of my sisters more attention because she wasn't a problem child. She just needed more attention. I got a lot of attention from my mom. My sisters say that I was a mama's boy. I don't think I was, but of course I would say that. I'm biased.
I would say the same thing about myself, Chris. No big deal.
Yeah. Hey, but that sister lived with my parents until she was like 26. So who's the parent child now?
Yeah.
But
no, this is I really, really liked this scene the first time that I read it. I love it because it connects back to the original series in which we heard vaguely that Ursa committed a treason of some kind in order to save Zuko, and then she got banished somehow. It's so vague in the series that it's like it has enough of a thread that it like you're like, okay, it's plausible, but we really don't know what happened. And there is so much detail in this scene that it makes me wonder if they intended to put it somewhere in the show and they just couldn't find the time for it. It didn't make sense in the story, but like there's so much detail here, and I really like the idea that the treason she's offering is poison to kill Azulon, but also then that Ozai does have the foresight to be like, well, wait, I can't. You just told me you have the ability to make an odorless, like colorless poison. Like I can't just. You just told me you have the ability to do that. You know, I can't leave you. Like I can't let you stay here because of that. So I think this is really clever all around, and it fills in the holes from the series. And it's just this is just some really great writing. I was really impressed with it.
And then Ursa, after she gives the poison to Ozai, she then kisses Azula goodnight, or goodbye, and then she kisses Zuko goodbye. But Zuko wakes up, which is really interesting parallel or interesting difference between the two. That like, what if Azula woke up? All right, like after Zuko woke up, she pretty much told him like she loved him, And I mean, she would have done the same exact thing to Azula. Instead of the last thing Azula remembers from her mom being like her reprimanding her, rightfully so, it would be that I love you. And,
Yeah.
for Zuko, that's the last thing he saw from his mom was like I love you type of deal.
Yeah. That's a great point. That's a really great point.
All right, and then we're back in the present. Team Avatar is like go to this weird forest thing that Akeem was lost in. Has a bunch of faces everywhere. Azula continues to go crazy.
Not to mention, this forest sounds like a nightmare zone. It sounds like a horror movie.
Yeah, there's just faces everywhere.
It's messed up. You guys just wandered into the Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
Yeah, they find this like brother sister, this guy who got his face stolen by the face stealer, and this waterbending lady, or whatever. None of that is really all that important. They're still on the search for his mom.
Yeah.
And then in another flashback, Ursa finds Akeem again, which I love their moments.
I do. Before we move past the waterbenders, I do think that they're important for the decision that Zuko makes later, because we stand my boy Zuko. He's so nice and pure. Anyway.
Oh yeah, you're right. Okay, yeah. So a brother and sister, older waterbend tribe. The brother face is stolen. He just wears this weird wooden face, which I think it's a great design. Honestly,
Yeah.
It's freaking creepy.
It's terrifying.
But did it get stolen by Ko? One day I found a bonus.
I think that's right. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh wait. What happened to his face, or did it get? No, it wasn't Ko. Ko didn't steal his face. He just got in some weird accident, and his face was disfigured. And then, anyway, whatever. Just know his face is weird. Sorry, that sounds rude.
Takeaway: appearance matters. This guy's face is messed up.
Anyway, they're looking for Ursa. Aang has to. There's like this weird. There's these like three lakes that also make a face, and the wolf is going to show up depending on where it's at. And that part I don't. It's fine. It's good. It's not as important as everything else, honestly. Aang then finds the spirit and wolf thingy. And then book two ends with Aang finding. Oh, okay. So the brother and sister knows there's a mother of faces who can give you a new face, but you got to get to the right lake at the right time. So Aang finds it, and he finds the mother of faces, which is a really cool design, I think. And then Azula and Zuko are fighting for some reason. I kind of forget what that was. Sorry. I'm skimming through the book. I've read the book twice. I meant to reread it before this podcast, but
I absolutely meant to rewatch or reabsorb in any fashion, and I did not. So I'm on one time through that was like 2 months ago now, give or take. So I'm pretty fuzzy on the details.
I have to do a little refresh. But I do like it's a good story. It's a really, really, really solid story. I think they fill in all the holes. But man, it does get complicated, especially when they throw in these two waterbenders with this like face issue. I was like, how is this gonna relate back to the main themes here? But lo and behold, they are talented writers and it does relate back.
It's a really good story, and I think my rating will like reflect that. But I will say that it takes a long time to pay off. Not to get going, like it's interesting from the beginning, but it takes a long time to pay off.
No, I totally agree. It says we don't get any resolution to that letter until like really late in the third one. It does. It's a slow burn, that's for sure.
They said it's not like it's a 2-book slog. It just, I don't know. I think maybe a lack of action in the middle part, I suppose, but in the first part,
so they meet the mother of faces, and then she says like, one thing, her interest is dope. She's like freaking huge, and she says, "I am the mother of faces. Through me, separatedness came into the world. Through me came identity. The one became the many," which is a small statement, but it's like it delivers a whole bunch of lore into Avatar. Like, is she the one that gives people distinctness? Like, because I was thinking about evolution in Avatar.
Yeah.
Right. I was
Yeah.
going down this pathway. Like, where did humans come from? Like, or because Avatar is all spiritual stuff. Like, is there like a god who created everything, or was things evolved from? Because at one point, Vatu, when he's fighting Juan, he says like, I'm ancient, like I am evil. I've been around since the first of you crawled out of the mud. That sounds like an evolution type of deal, because
Yeah.
humans and pretty much every animal came from some type of animal from the sea. And so I started going down that path. But then, or maybe
stuff there because of all of the animal mixes that are in the Avatar world. Besides from the one bear, just the plain bear in the Avatar world, all the animals are like crossbred. So get into some weird questions there.
Did you guys watch the honest trailers for Avatar yet?
I did, yeah.
Okay, yeah, I love the dual animal callouts in there.
Yeah.
Okay, so anyway, Mother Faces says like she can change anybody's face. She can also grant pretty much one favor for a human. And then so Zuko needs a favor. These two waterbending people need a favor. And then Aang is like, see, there's the thing. We actually need two favors. I'm sure a big and gigantic yet beautiful and lovely spirit like you can handle two favors, right?
Yeah.
And dropping that pickup game on it. I like that. That's nice.
Yeah. I saw a meme of like we're all sleeping on the biggest character development, and it was Aang's pickup game. It showed like Aang saying like to Katara, so papaya from the fortune teller episode. She just ignores him. To the headband where they're dancing, and he's just like, it's just you and me, Katara. Nobody else is here. It is like Aang's pickup game has like more development than Aang himself. But
he reminds me of Tom from Parks and Rec with that line he just dropped there though. Like he's about to tell that spirit that she's like 30 years old. Also, call her young lady.
Yeah. So Zuko says he gives the waterbending brother and sister the opportunity to get the favor, and then oh, my book closed. And then Azula says like, you're such a constant disappointment, Zuzu. Even when you're strong, you're weak. And she pretty much just cuts as the waterbending girl lady woman is making her favor wish. Like Azula cuts in front of her, just says, "We seek a princess of the Fire Nation named Ursa. Tell me where to find her." So then Azula got in front of her, which is so messed up.
Yeah. Yeah, there's not a whole lot of rhyme or reason. She's like, well, I don't know. I mean, I guess it sort of makes sense because the Mother Faces was like, all right, your group here, I will grant one wish. And
Yeah.
dang. She really jumps in there.
No, we're going Dutch. One each. Come on.
Yeah. What? Yeah. But it's sweet that Zuko allowed the waterbenders to get their wish.
Yeah.
Over his kindest mother. Azula is not so kind.
No, she's
not even a little bit.
Then the Mother of Faces says that she knows Ursa. She changed her. And she was like, I remember her. I cannot understand why a human of such beauty would ask for a new face. To test her sincerity, I offered her one as plain as can be. And she accepted. Well, I think that's messed up. I was like, I tested her. I gave her a very plain looking face compared to the one she had before. And she accepted it. And pretty much said that she wiped her. I don't think she said she wiped her memories. No, she didn't say she wiped her memories. Just said she gave her a new face at this point.
Yeah. What we find out about what that trade cost her is interesting. That it really, I have some opinions on that. Yeah.
Yeah, so we then flash back again. Ursa's reconnecting with Akeem. And then, yeah, they're just reconnecting. Aang, I forget why he goes and fights in this one little battle. Oh, does he go and try to get the mother faces?
I do not
Yeah.
recall.
I believe he goes and tries to find the mother faces after she said no to
Yeah, he's
another
gonna
one.
beg again.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So at one point she says, she like throws Aang out of the water. She says, since the beginning of time, I fashioned faces with great care and deliberation. With all my heart, in each face, I put a piece of my own being. So yeah, so she must create faces. That's interesting.
Pretty wild.
That's a crazy thing to have on a resume, man.
Then she says, but then these humans trample into my forest to make demands of me as if I were their servant. They dare ask me to replace my precious gifts with new ones. Do you know how it feels to be told by such insignificant beings that your work is inadequate? So yeah, she's a god. Like she creates faith. Like who creates? It's
She
an
sounded
interesting
kind of
thing that I haven't.
pissed too.
Well, yeah,
Yeah.
she does.
She's like, my work was not good enough for you. You're here for another one. Why do you get?
Excuse me?
Yeah.
She's like,
She pretty much
throw
tells.
some mascara on it. It'll be fine.
Then you gotta suck up, be like, no, it was too good. You did too good of a job, and we thought you could do it again. Encore.
She then she then tells them all to leave, and then so we get another flashback, and then the mother faces is giving Ursa a new face. She says, Ursa, I sense much pain in you. Do you really believe a new face will relieve you of this pain? She says, no, of course not. My pain comes from the memories of a life that I did not choose for myself. And then she says, I can do more than give you a new face. I can give you a new mind, one that does not remember the life that came before, but she can still keep the memory of I came. And then she says, do you want to do this? And then she says, yes. And part of it, she says, how about my children? Will I remember my children? And then she says, are they part of a life you wish to forget? Yes. Then you will not remember them. You must decide. And then she says, Zuko, Azula, I'm so horrible. And then she says she agrees to get a new memory and a new face.
Dang. Ugh. I remember reading this and being like, what? You just, what? I don't know. I could not believe this. I am very torn up about this because it makes me think not very highly of Ursa, and I was doing so well with her. I really liked her. I don't know how you just, I don't know about that.
I mean, as I was going through it the first time, I had a hard time like wrapping up feelings on Ursa. Like a deferred judgment. It's like I got to read the rest of the book, see what happens. I don't know what she's up to.
It's definitely a character flaw for her, without a doubt.
Yeah. I guess like I could only imagine the kind of pain that you would have to be into. I don't know, like I guess she just assumes that she's never going to be able to go back and see them, that she can't imagine a world in which Ozai would not be a barrier. Little does she know, they found the Avatar. Miracle. So I guess like because she just doesn't think that there is any possible way to get back into the Fire Nation and to get back to her children, it's best to just erase that memory and be with the person she loves. I don't know. It is really tough.
Yeah. No, it doesn't give her Mother of the Year award. Definitely. So then in the present, Zuko goes back to the family because now he knows that that's really his mother. And Akeem knows, and like Akeem is like, I thought you would come back. And then they're having dinner, just them four, which is like, oh gosh, it's the family Zuko wants. It's his little sister, his dad who's like cool, and his mom. Like this is the dinner he's probably always wanted to have.
Yeah.
And then he's talking to Ursa, but her name is Noriko. He says, "Tell me, Noriko, are you happy?" And then she's like, "What an odd thing to ask. Just answer me, please." And she says, "Yes, of course. I'm where I belong." And Zuko has this look of like, the most content Zuko has ever lived in his life, the most accepted, the most complete look of like, all right, if my mother's happy, I'm good internally. To me, that was finally the complete wrap of Zuko's inner turmoil.
Yeah. He found her. She was happy. She was safe. Yeah. So sweet.
And he's
So
only a
sweet.
little heartbroken that she intentionally forgot about them. No biggie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't
He
know.
probably gets it as well as anybody. Like what if of all the children that might understand, he could probably wrap his head around it.
That's true.
Yeah. I mean, he wanted to forget that Ozai was his dad. I think he gets it.
Yeah. So, more than we can for sure. Not that I know anything about people's family lives or whatever, but Zuko is probably
Yeah.
fairly understanding.
Yeah. But then Akeem is like, no, we have to stop. Like, Noriko, I have to tell you something. And Zuko finally says, my name is Zuko. I am Lord of the Fire Nation, and I'm your son. And then, so Aang is still fighting like all these faces because, oh yeah, Ko did steal his face. Sorry, Ko did steal his face. Because now I'm seeing him. So they're fighting all these monsters, spirit thingies, trees, forests that the Mother of Faces has, and then the waterbending guy's mask is stolen off, and then Mother of Faces realizes he doesn't have a face. And then she says like, "Oh," Aang says it was called a face stealer, and then the Mother of Faces is like, "He is my son," which is also a weird thing that spirits can have kids. So that makes her feel bad that her own son took the face of this man. So then she gives that guy his face back.
And then grounds her son.
You're grounded, Ko.
That's just curious, which kitty are we looking at?
This is Zuko.
What up, Zuko?
Azula is crawling behind the computer.
Excellent.
They are part of this.
At some point, one will sleep on a keyboard because #cats.
Yeah.
So at the family table, Akeem, although at this point Zuko doesn't know his name is Akeem. Sorry.
Mm-hmm.
Akeem tells Ursa everything, and then he says, "I also had a name. I used to be known as Akeem." And Zuko's like, "Akeem." He's like, "Then this." Zuko says,
"Daddy." That's great.
Yeah, Daddy. Zuko then says, then maybe this is where I belong to, with my mother, my sister, and my father. And then Akeem had to like politely be like, no. He's like, no, but that's not possible. Ursa and I, we never. That was like the most PG way to say.
Yeah. Yikes. Yikes.
Just leans in and whispers. He's like, not even second base.
I mean,
like, that's probably.
He just proposed to her. Yikes.
I mean, that's probably like the most explicit like time a PG-7 show has alluded to sex.
But they did it in like the best balance of clear and non-lewd, right? Like they did it right, I suppose.
Except I wonder who is the target audience of this comic? I wonder if like an actual child would know. I don't know. Forget it.
Do you guys remember the movie?
Because I don't think so because I read it to my daughter and just things go and she's looking at me now like, why are you talking about me? But
do you guys remember the movie Robots?
Yeah, well, vaguely. I remember it was a movie.
Yeah, and I mean it's not a great movie, but they do have that joke where the robots are like, the fun part is making the baby, and they have like a box of the baby parts that they're supposed to put together or whatever.
Yeah.
And I don't remember how old I was, but like perfect age that I thought I was really clever for getting it. Whatever that age is, probably too old.
Azula then breaks the party up, and because she wants to pretty much, in her mind, she can get Ursa out of her head if she kills her mother, and she attacks Ursa, although she still looks like that old lady. I mean, she's not old lady; she just doesn't look as the plain looking lady.
Guess you're kind of superficial today.
Who's her
Everything all right
mother?
at home?
They said she was plain looking.
Okay,
The mother
that's
of faces said she was plain looking. She said she gave her the most plainest face.
That's
Like
fair.
not ugly, not super cute, just plain. Um, so then Azula's like about to kill her, got her pinned against the wall. She says, "Oh, you know, you've managed all this. You haven't been trying to take me down." Anyway, Azula's pretty much saying that like you ruined my life. And then Ursa says, "If what you say is true, if I really am your mother, then I'm sorry I didn't love you enough." And Azula like cries at this moment, which is such a good scene. Azula is, to me, this is some great Azula work done here. And then Zuko stops her. Um, and then, at one point, Azula lightning attacks Zuko, and then he lightning attacks her back at her. And like, just a lot of great character work done here. Zuko then like, oh wait, the one anyway. There's a great moment where Azula's running away, and Zuko's like, "Come back," and like Zuko's like, "Come back, I want to help you." And Azula turns around with tears in her eye, says, "Same as always, Zuzu. Even when you're strong, you're weak." And then she leaves, and that's a really, I don't know, touching character moment. So then they go back to the Mother of Faces, and then the Mother of Faces goes back to Ursa, says, "Do you wish to return to your words once before your memories all?" And she says yes. And then Zuko talks to his mother, which is really sad because now the little girl don't really know Ursa because she's like, "That's not my mom. Like my mom don't look like that."
Yeah, that's actually
like, I mean, memories.
Sad.
Yeah, because memories make you who you are, your experiences and everything. And I mean, I'm sure she had the same personality, but still.
Would be weird for sure.
Yeah. So then Azula and his mom has a pretty great moment. She says, "Zuko, I owe you an apology. I'm sorry I didn't love you enough." Like, holy crap. Zuko says, "Don't say that, but it's true. I forgot you. What kind of mother forgets her son?" And Zuko's like, "Hey, things turned out okay. I've got some good friends now in a life I can be proud of." Like that's peak Zuko. Like I got some good friends now. That's
my heart.
Yeah.
He definitely he forgave her so quickly and easily. It just shows that he just really wanted to find her. And
I'm telling you, he got it better than the rest could. He got
it. He did.
And then she says, "In the crown on your head, you look so handsome, Zuko. I may not have a right to be, but I'm proud of you too."
Oh, so sweet.
Yeah. My heart.
And then Zuko shows her the letter. And like Zuko's like, "I need to know about this letter," and then she pretty much says it's not true. And then it flashes back. She just wrote that to make Ozai mad. She knew that Ozai was intercepting her letters.
Yeah.
Because then she says, like, "You know as well as I do that Zuko's your son." And even Ozai says, "Of course he's my son. I had spies track your every move for months before we were married." Like, man.
Wow.
That's creepy, man.
That's a lot. Ugh, he's the worst.
Yeah, just more Ozai crap.
It's amazing that you can come out of the entire TV series and only have a vague picture of how big of a douchebag he is.
True. There is a lot of nuance behind how
to unpack. Yeah.
So then Ozai says, "Why would you write such obvious lies?" And then she says, "Maybe I wanted to see if you were reading my private letters. Maybe I wanted to hurt you even for a moment. Maybe it was just my wishful thinking." And then Ozai pretty much says that if that's truly what you want, I will treat Zuko like he's not my son. I will treat him like crap. And every time I speak harshly to him, every time I wound him, every time I treat Zuko as if he were the son of a treacherous dog, I will simply be fulfilling his mother's wish. Like, how dare you try to turn that?
Ouch, man.
That is so awful. So awful. But you know what? I gotta give props. They know how to write a villain inside of it. Like, wow.
I'm not very mature. If I was Ursa, I would just storm down and be like, I knew he was yours the whole time because he's ugly like you, or something like that. It's something not true, but again, I'm not very mature.
Yeah. And then the book ends with Ursa pretty much saying, like, there's so much I want to tell you about your father, about Akeem, about my life here in Hurrah. My marriage to Ozai was just so. Then she doesn't finish. And then Zuko says, wait, I want to know everything from the beginning. And she says, everything? He says, everything. And then she says, for you, my dear, I'll start from the beginning. And then that is actually how the book begins. The first passage of the book is, wait, I want to know everything, everything for you, my dear. I'll start from the beginning. And that's how the book begins. So it's kind of one huge circular reference.
Love that. We love circles and ending and finishing on the same note. Great writing.
That's something my brain can wrap its mind around. Oh, circle. Got it.
Yeah.
And that's how the book ends. I love the book myself. One thing also, I love these when they put them all into one format because this is a really nice book. It's like high quality paper.
Yeah.
I like this cover a lot. This is the only one that I have of them. I mean, I have the rest of the comics, but I have them individually. But this one I bought because I just really liked it a lot.
Somebody good hardback.
Yeah, I almost considered getting the search in that format as well because I knew I was gonna be all about it. But then it was like $45, and I was like, okay, I don't have that kind of money because I could get the comics for not hardly like anything.
Yeah,
so I do have
or something.
Yeah, but all right, yeah, no, it's a great one. So much Zuko and Azula, and just wow, it's a spicy story, and so interesting.
Did not go where I was expecting it to go.
No,
I thought it was gonna be like three books of them like just wandering around like saying her name or something. It's like how are they gonna? I don't know what they're gonna stretch it.
Just like backtracking, just going through the same cities that they went through, just instead of looking for a firebending master, they're just looking for Ursa.
Like, I thought there would be some backstory, but I never would have anticipated all of the Ozai content. I never would have, like, guessed that Ko was going to make an appearance, much less his mom was going to have an integral role. All these things. So, no, I didn't.
Be a god.
I didn't have any real idea where it was going. When I got to the end, I was like, okay. Next slides up are the ratings. And then, since there's a lot to digest, I would imagine we should delve a little farther into the ratings than we do on an average episode. Maybe not, I don't know. I think it goes Chris's, and then mine, and then Jaimee's. You guys ready to jump into those?
Yeah. So my ratings are 9s across the board. I forget which one goes first, but audiovisual gave a 9. I love the art in this. Actually, I should give it a 10. Because the art's really great. I think this is their best work done, especially just the small, subtle facial expressions that they give Azula. It's done really well. The story I thought was really good. To me, this is the best comic of them all. And I like the comics, but to me, they're redundant to a certain extent because the story was done. This part of the story wasn't done. And so most of the comics, I think, are just kind of okay, the story-wise. But this story, I think, is really good. And then Memorable, I gave it a 9. Another great. I mean, it's the wrap up of the story of what happened to Zuko's mom. Funny enough, I just watched episode 1 of Korra, and and Ikki goes to Katara and is like, wait, it's not Ikki, it's Jinora. Jinora goes to Katara, is like, Gran, what happens to Zuko's mom? And then Katara's like, actually, it's a really great story. And then Ikki, and she's about to tell the story, and then Ikki just like interrupts her.
Yeah. It's a great
like,
story. That's true.
I loved that.
When did they write when this came out? When The Search came out versus Korra?
The Search came out in like 2013. Korra came out 2011.
Oh, Interesting.
The joke was way more meaningful when I watched Korra episode 1 today than it was the first time I saw it, and didn't really think much of it.
Yeah, I'm not sure that I recognized, and I didn't read the comics until last summer, so yeah, I wouldn't have caught that really.
No.
This came out in 2014. Dang, yeah. Or at least this one probably came out 2014, but the other books probably came out in 2013.
Gotcha.
That was a well thought out in advance joke. Then well done. Well done, Korra really creators.
Joke, yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry, Chris. Are you done?
I'm just spacing. Oh yes, I'm done.
Yeah,
sorry.
Excellent. No, I'm just spacing out over here. I gotta be honest. I was actually checking the Blazers score. I went 9s across the board as well. I think the art was tremendous. And like I said earlier, it kind of is distinct from the TV show, but in a good way. It just, I don't know, feels different, but it feels right for comics. The story was really good. I would say it didn't hook me right out of the gate or anything like that, but once I got all the way through to the end and could see the big picture, I could see where you could argue maybe the individual pieces don't stand alone very as well, but the whole picture, when you get that far, it provides so much lore and such great tying together of a story that we would have wanted out of the TV series. It's not a new thing, or like, this is a very natural continuation of what we would have wanted after the TV series. So I really like that. And then memorable, I just did it once, but I think it'll stick in my brain a really long time. I think it'll be a hard story, hard art style, and thing to forget. I think these will stick in my brain possibly as one of the better comics we'll read. Hard to say till I get through them all. So that weighs out to a 9, and I had a very enjoyable time.
Yeah, please just disregard the scores that I gave because I did not know how we were.
Yeah, you know what? Honestly, that it's not like rating a video or a movie. Excuse me.
I will say, yeah, I can move all my scores up to 9s across the board as well. I originally rated it lower for memorability only because I couldn't really remember some of the nuances. I remember that Ozai was awful, like, really truly awful. But I forgot like the little detail about like Ursa with the poison, and that's a really great detail. I don't think I'm going to forget it again since having refreshed my mind there. But overall, it's a really great story, and I do believe that this was supposed to be what their season 4 was going to be originally.
Mike and Bryan like continue to say that like, oh, we planned 3 seasons. That was it. We never thought about a season 4. Although Aaron Ehasz has said before of like, oh, we had these little talks about it and about potential season 4. It seemed like he was way more interested in season 4 than they were.
I mean, it's weird. Yeah, I mean, like, this story doesn't make sense in the term in Aang's wheelhouse, like in the world of Aang specifically, and like that journey. But also this
for
one
some reason
was so thought out. Like, it had to have been planned for a long time, and it really shows.
For some reason, I believe they pitched or they thought about doing a separate movie, which I think a separate movie would be pretty good because it won't feel like a season. It won't feel like you're dragging on the story. It'll just feel like, oh, well, we just added this one little thing to it.
Just
to me, that would be like a good compromise. Deal. Yeah. And I don't know why or where I heard that from, but I'm pretty sure I heard it somewhere. But I kind of hate doing that whole not giving a source type of deal. But I remember hearing that they wanted to do a movie, but for some reason it didn't work out.
Yeah. Do you ever feel like Aaron Ehasz is like the third wheel? He's there. Come on, guys. Let's just do another season. It'll be great.
Yeah, I mean, Aaron
No,
Ehoff is such a strong writer, and I am happy he went on to do Dragon Prince, which is not necessarily like my cup of tea, but
I love it. I absolutely love it.
You guys both really like Dragon Prince. I think I haven't seen the most recent season.
I am if it has dragons in the name, I'm in. I've got like 4 of them on my shelf over here. I'm all about it. High fantasy setting, that's up my alley too. Dig it.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. I'm not much for high fantasy really. I
eat it up.
I like really hard magic systems, and sometimes that kind of gets into like problems for me because I'm very, very, very picky about
You like
what
a rigid magical structure.
I really do. I want to know. I want to know the magic system right out of the gate, like page 1. I want to be able to understand what's going on in this world.
I don't. I want to hear him say goofy words, just hear him spout nonsense and have good results come out of it. That's what I want.
Yeah. No, but anyway, yeah, this is a really strong story, and I just feel like it was in the works in their minds ever since they finished the series. I mean, they knew that they were going to tell this story in some form, and I'm really glad they did because it's phenomenal and definitely one of my favorites. I always tell people if you haven't read The Search, which a lot of people haven't delved into the comics, I was like, you should read The Promise first because it's a nice lead in, and it's also like The Promise is pretty great too, but this one is just really stand out.
To me, the shows or the stories that I push hard on people is The Search, and now more than anything, it's the Kyoshi novels. It's like if you're not reading the Kyoshi novels, you're missing out on a whole nother story of Avatar.
Right, for sure.
Yeah, I don't know what distinguishes it necessarily. So far, I would say, between these 2 small comics and the 2 full Kyoshi novels, I'd say the Kyoshi novels are, I don't know, they're more engaging reads overall, but I also understand the amount of effort that has to go into the animation and, or not the animation, the art in these comic books, and I understand that plays a big role that, as a non-comic book person, doesn't mean the same thing to me, so I get it. Those Kyoshi novels, man.
I just finished listening to the audiobook of Rise of Kyoshi, and I highly recommend it. It's really good. And I do think Rise of Kyoshi is like way better than the Shadow Kyoshi, and I like Shadow Kyoshi a lot. There's just so much in there, so much good character stuff, like a rise up from the bottom of yourself, treachery, deaths, romantic relationship. They won't say.
I wasn't on your Shadow of Kyoshi review, but I definitely really recommend Rise of Kyoshi. Shadow's fine. It wasn't my cup of tea, but Rise of Kyoshi is awesome, and I tell everyone, all Avatar fans, you gotta read Rise of Kyoshi because she's amazing.
Yeah. Rise just does a lot more of the story, a lot more action, a lot more for the lore, everything. So, but not to discredit these delightful comics, such as The Search, which it sounds like we all recommend that you go read if you're an Avatar fan. So that is my conclusion. Do you guys have any closing thoughts?
Go vote. I don't know. Whenever
go
you
vote.
watch
Yeah,
this.
that's a good one. Hashtag go vote.
That is a great one.
Is there anything more American than voting? Maybe voting with a hot dog or something. I don't know. Hamburger? I don't know. What's more American, hot dog or hamburger? Yeah, go vote. I like that. No, if that's it, then this
hot dog definitely.
I think hot dog is more American, personally. Yeah.
Hamburger gets its name from the place Hamburger.
That's fair. There's also a Shaler, Germany, and I'll probably never visit it. This has been Avatar: The Last Podcasters. Jaimee, thank you so much for joining us for this episode. As always, it was a pleasure to have you balance out my horrible, incorrect opinions about Zuko. No, I love Zuko in this book. This is Zuko's finest hour in this book, potentially. So, but thank you so much for joining us. It was a pleasure to see you, and I'm glad to see that the cats are getting acclimated to the space. Great name choice. Chris, It's always good to see you too. I don't want you to feel shorted. It's always great to see you as well. And I'll also see you very shortly because we're going to record another episode like always. It's going to be a blast. So this is Avatar: The Last Podcasters. Thank you so much for watching, and we will talk to you soon.